we're always in this dance with our spouse or in any relationship. The same is true for your kids as well. Whenever we're responding to what's going on, it can either lead us and the relationship to get closer or farther away from each other. And realizing this helped me feel more empowered and less helpless. Because it wasn't just about, oh, well, he just needs to be a better listener, or I'm going to wait until he figures it out, right? It's also about how am I contributing to this too? The relationship takes two people. Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about 3 things to stop doing, to avoid doing, to feel more heard by your partner. If this is something that you have been wanting in your marriage since the kids were born, or even before that, you have always wanted to feel more heard and you don't know what to do. If this is you, then definitely continue listening. Now, what do I mean by feel heard? If you're new to this phrase, I want to break it down for you. So, to feel heard means to feel like what you say matters. That whoever you're talking to, in this case, your spouse, they genuinely want to understand you better, and that what you want and how you feel is being taken into consideration. Okay. I'm sure just from listening to that, you're like, yeah, that is important to me, right? Now, the reason why we feel the need to feel heard in our marriage and why it's vital is because when we feel heard, we feel safe to share. And it can be challenging to open up to others because being vulnerable can be hard. It can feel challenging for you if you're not used to it, especially if growing up, that wasn't something that was encouraged. I know for me and many people, our feelings were not encouraged to be expressed, only the positive ones. The frustration, the anger, the sadness, that was something that made our parents feel uncomfortable, and they themselves didn't know how to handle it. And so they tried to calm us down or tell us to stop. It wasn't something that was invited, and they definitely didn't know how to hold space for it because it made them feel uncomfortable. And so, because that's my experience with expressing myself and my relationship with vulnerability in the past, I had trouble being vulnerable. It physically felt hard for me to let people into my inner world. I would get a lump in my throat. My body would feel so constricted, and it made me physically and emotionally uncomfortable to be fully honest about what I was thinking and feeling. But when we feel heard, we feel like we're not being judged for what we're experiencing, what we're expressing. And instead, we feel respected, we feel accepted, cared for, and supported. And isn't that why we chose to get into a long-term commitment in the first place, right? That is what we want from our partner. It's in that exchange of openness and vulnerability that creates that emotional intimacy that we crave in a relationship, that helps us want to connect, that helps us want to even physically engage with them with sex, right? And without that emotional intimacy, it could feel like we're more like co-parenting roommates, right? We're raising kids together, we're housemates. But what about romantic partners? What about feeling like a couple, right? And so when we don't feel heard, our automatic response is to close off, is to stop sharing because we feel like it's not being received. It's not welcome. It's not something that they want to participate in, right? So when we don't feel heard, it can feel really lonely and hurtful and eventually lead to resentment, especially when the person you don't feel heard by is your spouse, right? Your person. Or if you're a Friends fan, you're a lobster. You want to be able to go to your spouse with anything that you feel, that you want, and it be met with open arms, support, and love, right? And when I didn't feel heard, I know I ended up feeling helpless and overwhelmed and defeated a lot of times. So, feeling heard is a core need in relationships. And when we're not getting our needs met, we end up doing things to protect ourselves. And from my own personal experience, the things that I do to protect myself that I've learned from an early age, just seeing what my parents did and what did and didn't work for them, and my child perception of like, oh, I should do that too, that oftentimes makes things worse. Right. So looking back, I can now see how my reactions were actually preventing me from what I want, which is to feel heard. Because it's not only your partner needing to do something differently, it's also how we're navigating the situation. We're always in this dance with our spouse or in any relationship. The same is true for your kids as well. Whenever we're responding to what's going on, it can either lead us and the relationship to get closer or farther away from each other. And realizing this helped me feel more empowered and less helpless. Because it wasn't just about, oh, well, he just needs to be a better listener, or I'm going to wait until he figures it out, until he gets it, right? It's also about how am I contributing to this too? The relationship takes two people. And oftentimes, when we're not getting our needs met, we kind of just feel stuck and we're waiting for our partner to give us what we need, to meet our expectations. But we have a part in it too. And if you're resonating with what I'm sharing and you want support with this, book a clarity call with me so that you can get help with this in your marriage. Okay. I offer one on one coaching and couples coaching. In case you're like me, I want to help you raise your level of awareness to some things that you might be doing that are actually preventing you from feeling heard. Because we never want to be in this space where we feel like we're disempowered, where we're defeated and we're hopeless. So if you can only control what you can do, then let's take a look at what you can do and how your actions might be contributing to how you feel. Obviously, you're not intentionally trying to make things hard for yourself, but it is good to reflect on, okay, how can I make things easier for myself? How can I set my marriage up for success? Just like I said earlier, everything we do, your partner's going to react to. So if something we do is repelling them from wanting to hear us more, to be there for us more, and they're closing off, then we have to notice that and see, okay, well, what am I willing to adjust here? Okay. Now, when I say this, I don't mean don't advocate for yourself. I'm saying, can you change your approach? Can you approach it with more partnership rather than just looking at your partner as if they're the problem? No one ever likes to feel like they're the problem. Here are 3 things I think everyone needs to stop doing to feel more heard. So, number 1 is not listening to them whenever they share something with you. This can sound super counterintuitive because you're like, wait, I don't feel heard. So, what's that have to do with me hearing them? Right. And it works this way because if you want your partner to listen to you better, you need to improve how you listen to them. Okay. That is how it works. Telling someone you need them to listen is not nearly as effective as showing them how you listen to them, especially if you're getting defensive or closed off whenever they have observations or feedback to share. It sets up this dynamic like, okay, well, this is how each of us responds anytime we have feedback to share. Fast forward, you're either going to continue that cycle, or one or both of you are going to stop sharing things because you want to avoid that drama, that discomfort of feeling like you don't accept each other and you're not there for each other and you don't care about what the other person feels. When really, that doesn't necessarily mean that either of you don't care. All it means is that both of you don't want to get hurt. So, how can we stop that from happening? Right. And it starts with, how can I be a better listener? Okay. The second one is only talking to your partner when you're really overwhelmed about an issue. This can catch your partner off guard and overwhelm them. This is like when you have a toddler who is having a meltdown, right? Sometimes you can be there for them, you have the capacity, and other times you just need space because it's overstimulating, they're loud and shrill, and it's like your nervous system is just shot, right? You want space from the intense emotions and you just need to get away from it. Same thing. Adults can feel the same way too, especially if you haven't learned how to regulate your emotions, how to be with someone else's emotions and handle the discomfort of that. And so take a look at the past several times where you've tried to express how you feel, what you want, your frustrations, your anger, your disappointment, and notice when you approached them, were you in the height of your emotions? Were you at the top and you're just like feeling the most of all your emotions, serving it up on a plate as if it's dessert, but really to them, it's a pile of hot poo. They're like, I don't want this. I need space from it. It stinks, doesn't feel good. I don't want to be around it. Okay. And so being conscientious of, how am I delivering this? What is my approach? What is it like for them for me to do this? Do they want to accept this delivery? Is this something that they want to stick around and listen to? There are ways to communicate how you feel and what you want without repelling, without it feeling like you're putting them down. Which leads to the third way, which is sharing how you feel in a critical way. This happens when you're only thinking about your experience. I am totally guilty of this, by the way. Okay. This is something that I actively have to work on. I can get into this mode sometimes, depending on the situation, where when I'm upset about something, I come off like I'm blaming, criticizing, or dismissing. And if you were on the receiving end, it doesn't feel good. And it feels like a finger's being pointed at you, right? No one wants that. And as that person who's receiving that, it makes you want to get defensive rather than open up and show empathy because you want to protect yourself, right? So you're either shutting down or you're getting more aggressive and trying to show them how they're not perfect, whatever coping mechanism you have, right? That's something to be aware of. What's the impact that you're having on your partner, the way you're delivering it? So it's not what you're delivering, it's how you're delivering it that matters. And if you are taking in the feedback that you're getting from the interaction, and when you're only thinking about your experience, you're not building a bridge, you're building a wall. You're like, I'm on my side of the wall and I'm telling you how you suck. Meanwhile, he's like, well, forget you. I don't want to listen to this. Why do I want to spend time standing here listening to you berate me or listening to you criticize me? Nobody wants that. That is not how partners communicate. Okay. So these are the three things that you might be doing to block yourself from feeling more heard by your spouse. And when it comes to relationships, it's easy to just look to the other person, expect them to change or wait for them to change for you to get what you need. But that can feel really hopeless. And I'm not here to encourage that. okay? Because that's not a good place to be. I don't want you to feel stuck. I want to empower you to know that things can change when you start looking inwards and consider how you can become more aware of how your actions contribute to your experience of your marriage and how you can set your marriage up for success so that your partner can meet your needs, so that they understand, so they want to listen, so they want to engage, so they want to participate and collaborate in figuring out, how do we fix this? How do we make things better for us? Okay. When we start becoming more aware of that, then you can start working towards each other, right? Because you're aware of the impact that you're having on each other, and you could start working towards a type of partnership where everyone feels heard and gets the support they need, rather than you or him only being concerned about getting what you each need. You're thinking about the collective, right? Your marriage, everybody getting their fair share of what they need. And being there for people can look different for each person, right? Not everyone knows how to do it. Not everyone likes the same thing when it comes to getting the support they need. For one person, it could look like, I just need a hug. For another person, it can look like, I want to talk this out. It varies. Okay. And we have to honor that everyone is different. So, what you need for you to feel heard could be vastly different from what he needs. So, by leading the way and showing your partner how you want to feel heard, by also helping him feel heard in a way that works for him, is a great start. Because if he starts to feel safe and heard, he's gonna let down his walls, not feel like he has to be so defensive or aggressive and stand his ground and advocate for him, because he's no longer going to feel attacked. He's going to feel more respected and accepted and not judged. Okay. So, just a quick recap, the 3 things that you need to stop doing to feel more heard is not listen to them whenever they share something with you, only talking to them when you feel really overwhelmed about an issue, and sharing how you feel in a critical way. Okay. So see what you are doing, right? Without judgment, just notice, oh, I do that. I'm totally guilty of doing that. That's okay. Next time you catch yourself doing it, do something different, try something else, right? The goal here is to be partners, not, oh, well, I'm only going to listen to you if you listen to me, right? That's not partnership, okay? That's very much like keeping score. And keeping score is a slippery slope to go on when it comes to marriage, okay? Let me know what your biggest takeaway was. And if you want help with this, like I said, book a call and let's get you the help that you need. All right. Otherwise, I'll catch you back here next week. Bye. That's it for this episode. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. I would so appreciate that. And if you love what I share here, then you're going to love and want to join my free private Facebook community that's also called Marriage and Motherhood. I hope to see and connect with you in there. Otherwise, I'll catch you back here next week for the next episode. Bye.